something. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that not every battle deserves a soldier. Some fights are designed to steal your peace, not prove your strength. Some people never wanted an explanation. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to see your emotions become their entertainment. They wanted your anger because anger gives them control. They wanted your defense because your defense makes them feel powerful. They wanted your words because words can be twisted, remembered selectively, and used against you long after the conversation ends. The greatest mistake intelligent people make is believing that truth always wins arguments. It doesn't. Ego wins arguments. Pride wins arguments. Noise wins arguments. Truth rarely shouts something. There is a silence so powerful that insecure people mistake it for arrogance. There is an absence so painful that those who sought your attention begin questioning themselves. The strongest response has never been the loudest voice in the room. It has always been the person who walked away before the room could steal their dignity. Your explanation is often wasted on people who already decided who you are. Your reaction is fuel for those who survive by creating chaos. Your attention is a currency more valuable than money, and every time you give it to someone who seeks to provoke you, you are paying them with a piece of your life. So today, learn the discipline that few ever master, the discipline of saying nothing. The discipline of proving nothing, the discipline of leaving without announcing your departure, because the people who truly understand your character never require endless explanations. And the people who demand endless explanations have already chosen not to understand you. Most people spend their lives trying to control what can never be controlled. They try to control opinions. They try to control rumors. They try to control criticism. They try to control how strangers interpret their intentions. It is an exhausting prison because every explanation creates another question. Every defense creates another accusation. And every emotional reaction opens another door for conflict. The world teaches you to respond immediately, defend yourself, correct every misunderstanding, answer every insult, win every argument, protect your image. But wisdom teaches something entirely different. Wisdom asks one question. Who benefits from your reaction? Think carefully. Every manipulative person survives on emotional energy. They throw accusations like fishermen casting bait into the water. The accusation itself is never the goal. Your reaction is. Once you react emotionally, they no longer need evidence. Your anger becomes their evidence. Your frustration becomes their victory. Your desperation becomes their entertainment. Notice how storms behave. The wind never asks permission. The rain never explains itself. The ocean never apologizes for its depth. Nature possesses enormous power precisely because it wastes no energy defending its existence. Human beings could learn much from this. Not every insult deserves an answer. Not every lie deserves correction. Not every misunderstanding deserves clarification. Some people ask questions with closed minds. Some people criticize with closed hearts. Some people listen only long enough to prepare their next attack. No explanation can reach ears committed to misunderstanding. That is why silence becomes wisdom instead of weakness. Silence is difficult because your ego wants justice, your pride wants recognition, your emotions want revenge. You want people to finally admit they were wrong, but life rarely offers such endings. Most people never apologize. Most people never acknowledge your innocence. Most people simply move on while you remain imprisoned by the desire to clear your name. Meanwhile, your peace quietly disappears. There is a dangerous addiction few people recognize. It is the addiction to being understood. You explain yourself to family, you explain yourself to coworkers, you explain yourself to strangers online, you explain yourself to people who never earned access to your inner world. Eventually you wake up emotionally exhausted, wondering why life feels so heavy. It feels heavy because you have been carrying everyone's opinion as though it were your responsibility. It never was. The eagle never asked the crows for approval. It simply flies too high for their noise to matter. Many people attack what they secretly admire. Others criticize what they secretly fear. Some gossip because they cannot create. Others judge because they cannot become something. The loudest critics are often fighting silent wars within themselves. Recognizing this changes everything. You stop taking every insult personally. You stop assuming every rejection defines your worth. You stop believing every rumor deserves investigation. Instead, you begin protecting something far more valuable. Your attention. Attention determines destiny. Whatever receives your attention receives your life. Every unnecessary argument steals hours from your future. Every pointless explanation drains energy that could have built your dreams. Every emotional reaction gives someone else temporary control over your inner world. Imagine placing gold coins into the hands of strangers every single day. Most people would call that foolish, yet people freely hand over something infinitely more valuable, their emotional energy. Every angry reply, every defensive paragraph, every sleepless night replaying conversations. Every desperate attempt to convince someone who has already decided not to believe. This is emotional bankruptcy. Your greatest wealth is not your income. It is your peace, protected as fiercely as kings once protected their kingdoms. People often mistake silence for surrender. They assume that because you did not answer, you had no answer. Let them believe that history has shown repeatedly that confidence rarely argues. Insecurity argues constantly. Confidence walks away. Confidence builds quietly. Confidence understands that time reveals character more effectively than words ever could. Think about the tallest mountains. They never announce their greatness. They simply exist. The sun never sends invitations before rising. The stars never compete for attention. Their presence speaks louder than endless declarations. Become like that. Laud your consistency to speak. Laud your actions to defend your reputation. Laud your discipline to answer your critics. Words fade. Behavior remains. There will always be people committed to misunderstanding you because misunderstanding gives them purpose. If they understood you honestly, they would lose the story they have built about you. Some people need villains to avoid confronting themselves. Do not volunteer for that role by reacting emotionally. Leave them alone with their own imagination. It is a far harsher companion than anything you could ever say. Remember this. Every time someone provokes you, they are asking one silent question. Can I control your emotions? Every reaction answers yes. Every moment of calm answers no. That calm is not passive. It is power restrained. It is strength refusing to become spectacle. It is intelligence refusing to wrestle with confusion. It is maturity choosing tomorrow over today's temporary satisfaction. You cannot stop people from talking. You cannot prevent betrayal. You cannot erase false accusations. You cannot silence every critic. But you can choose whether they gain access to your peace. That choice belongs to no one else. The world respects those who respect themselves enough to walk away, not because they fear conflict, but because they understand that their purpose is too valuable to be delayed by every invitation to chaos. Nice what deserves ignorance. Answer only what deserves your wisdom. Invest your voice only where truth has fertile ground. And when the noise grows louder, remember that the tallest trees never chase the wind. Most people believe that the person who speaks the loudest has the greatest power. They assume that if someone insults them, they must answer. If someone lies about them, they must correct the record. If someone challenges them, they must fight until everyone recognizes the truth. This belief has trapped countless people in battles that were never meant to be won. They mistake reaction for strength when in reality, reaction is often the first sign that someone else has gained access to their emotions. The moment another person can predict your anger, your frustration, or your need to defend yourself, they have discovered the strings that move you. They no longer need to attack your character because they have found a way to control your behavior. There are people who thrive on emotional chaos. They walk into conversations carrying invisible hooks, not because they want understanding, something, but because they want a response. Every criticism is carefully placed bait. Every sarcastic remark is a test. Every insult is an invitation to leave your place of peace and step into the arena they have prepared. They understand something many people never realize. Something. Whoever controls the emotional climate controls the encounter. If they can make you angry, they have already redirected your attention. If they can make you defensive, they have already forced you to play by their rules. They are not interested in truth. They are interested in influence, and influence becomes easier when another person begins acting from emotion instead of wisdom. This is why so many arguments leave people feeling empty. Hours are spent exchanging words, yet nothing changes. Minds remain closed. Hearts remain hardened, and both sides walk away believing they have won while carrying the weight of exhaustion. The conflict was never about finding clarity. It was about feeding emotion. Every raised voice, every desperate explanation, every attempt to prove innocence becomes another source of energy for the person who wanted conflict from the beginning. They leave satisfied because they achieved their true objective. They made you react. Human nature often mistakes movement for progress. When emotions rise, people feel an overwhelming urge to do something immediately. They type the message, they answer the accusation, they defend themselves against every rumor, they replay conversations over and over, imagining the perfect response they should have given. They convince themselves that silence is weakness and that every attack deserves an answer. Yet the greatest victories often come from refusing to participate in battles designed to consume your peace. There is remarkable discipline in recognizing that not every challenge deserves your attention. Imagine a person throwing stones into a calm lake. The purpose is not the stone itself, but the ripple that follows. Without the ripple, the throw loses its satisfaction. In much the same way, many provocations lose their power when they receive no emotional response. The insult hangs in the air with nowhere to land. The accusation finds no resistance to push against. The manipulator begins facing something far more uncomfortable than your anger. They face silence. Silence forces them to confront their own intentions because there is no reaction to distract them from what they have done. Many people unknowingly reward bad behavior with immediate attention. Someone criticizes them unfairly, and they spend hours explaining themselves. Someone spreads gossip, and they begin calling everyone involved, trying to repair their reputation. Someone deliberately provokes them, and they surrender an entire day thinking about the encounter. The person who caused the disturbance may have invested only a few careless moments, yet the victim continues paying interest long after the event has ended. Emotional reactions often extend the life of problems that would have faded if left alone. There is a profound difference between responding with wisdom and reacting from wounded pride. A wise response is deliberate, measured, and guided by purpose. A reaction is immediate, emotional, and driven by impulse. Wisdom asks whether speaking will improve the situation. Pride asks how quickly it can defend itself. Wisdom considers the future. Pride obsesses over the present moment. Wisdom protects peace. Pride seeks victory at any cost. The tragedy is that pride often wins arguments while quietly losing relationships, opportunities, and emotional stability. The strongest people are rarely the ones who answer every insult. They understand that dignity cannot be stolen by another person's opinion. Reputation built through years of consistent character cannot be destroyed by a few careless words. They trust that truth has endurance while deception eventually collapses under its own weight. This confidence allows them to remain calm even when surrounded by misunderstanding. They refuse to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. Observe those who constantly seek attention through conflict. They often become frustrated when their attempts fail. They expected anger but found composure. They expected lengthy explanations but received quiet confidence. They expected emotional resistance but encountered someone unwilling to enter the fight. Their greatest weapon was never the insult itself. It was your anticipated reaction. When that reaction never arrives, much of their influence disappears. Your emotional energy is among the most valuable resources you possess. Every moment spent arguing with someone committed to misunderstanding is a moment taken away from your purpose. Every unnecessary conflict steals focus from your dreams, your family, your work, and your growth. something. The world is filled with opportunities worthy of your attention, yet distractions constantly compete for the same space. Learning to distinguish between what deserves your response and what deserves your silence is one of life's greatest disciplines. Something. People who master themselves understand that self-control is not passive. It is active strength. It requires resisting the impulse to prove yourself to those who have already chosen disbelief. It demands patience when pride urges immediate action. It asks you to value long-term peace over short-term satisfaction. This kind of discipline is invisible to most observers because they only notice the absence of reaction. They fail to see the internal battle that was won before a single word was spoken. The person who can remain calm while others attempt to provoke them possesses a freedom that cannot easily be taken away. They no longer hand strangers the keys to their emotions. They no longer allow criticism to dictate their mood or insults to determine their behavior. They understand that every reaction offered carelessly becomes a reward for those who seek control. And they refuse to make their peace available at such a low price. One of the deepest desires within every human being is the desire to be understood. From childhood, people long for someone to hear their heart, recognize their intentions, and see beyond their mistakes. This longing follows them into adulthood, shaping countless conversations, relationships, and decisions. They explain themselves because they believe that if they can simply find the right words, the misunderstanding will disappear. They assume that clarity produces acceptance and that honesty guarantees fairness. Yet life repeatedly teaches a painful lesson. Not everyone misunderstands you because they lack information. Some misunderstand you because they have already decided not to understand something. There are people whose minds are closed long before you begin speaking. They do not listen to discover the truth. They listen only long enough to defend the story they have already created about you. Every sentence you offer becomes another opportunity for them to twist your meaning. Every explanation becomes another piece of material they reshape to fit their existing judgment. You leave the conversation believing you have been transparent, while they leave believing they have been confirmed. The tragedy is not that your words lacked wisdom. The tragedy is that wisdom cannot enter a mind that has locked its doors from the inside. Many people confuse conversation with understanding. They believe that if two people continue talking long enough, agreement will eventually appear. But conversation alone cannot overcome a heart committed to misunderstanding. You cannot explain light to someone who insists on keeping their eyes closed. You cannot reveal sincerity to someone who profits from doubting your motives. The issue is no longer communication. The issue is willingness. Without willingness, even the clearest explanation becomes another reason for conflict. Think about how often people defend themselves against accusations that were never made in good faith. They spend hours crafting careful responses to criticism that was never intended to build them. They replay every event, searching for better words, hoping that one more explanation will finally change another person's opinion. They sacrifice peace in exchange for approval that was never available to begin with. This endless pursuit slowly drains confidence because every failed explanation creates the illusion that perhaps they simply have not tried hard enough. The truth is that some people ask questions without any desire for answers. Their questions are merely tools to keep you talking while they prepare their next accusation. They invite explanation not because they seek understanding, but because they hope your emotions will eventually expose frustration. Once frustration appears, they stop examining your words and begin judging your tone. The discussion shifts away from truth and becomes centered on your emotional response. Suddenly, the original issue no longer matters. Your reaction has become the topic. And they have successfully redirected the conversation exactly where they wanted it. Closed minds often operate from hidden motives. Some are protecting pride because admitting they were wrong feels unbearable. Others protect jealousy because acknowledging your growth would force them to confront their own stagnation. Some preserve resentment because forgiveness would require humility. Others simply enjoy conflict because it gives them a sense of importance they cannot find elsewhere. Whatever the reason, their refusal to understand has very little to do with you and almost everything to do with the condition of their own heart. something. This realization changes the way you view criticism. You stop assuming every accusation deserves your attention. You begin asking whether the person speaking has demonstrated genuine fairness. Have they ever shown a willingness to reconsider something? Have they ever admitted their own mistakes? Have they ever approached you with respect instead of hostility? If the answer is consistently no, then endless explanations become a waste of emotional strength. You are attempting to fill a vessel that has no intention of holding what you offer. Many intelligent people become trapped because they believe silence appears as guilt. They fear that if they do not immediately defend themselves, others will assume the accusations are true. This fear pushes them into endless cycles of justification. They explain every decision, they defend every action, they answer every rumor, they attempt to satisfy people whose expectations constantly change. The more they explain, the more explanations are demanded. What began as one conversation becomes 10, then 20, until their entire life revolves around managing perceptions instead of living with integrity. There is remarkable freedom in recognizing that your character is not built through explanations. Character is built through consistency. People who genuinely care about truth eventually observe your actions over time. They notice how you treat others when no reward is offered. They observe your patience during difficulty. They recognize your honesty when dishonesty would have been easier. These things speak with a voice that explanations can never equal. Words introduce you, but consistent behavior reveals you. History has shown that many respected individuals were misunderstood during different seasons of their lives. They faced criticism, false assumptions, and unfair judgments despite acting with integrity. If every one of them had abandoned their purpose to answer every accusation, they would have spent their lives defending themselves instead of fulfilling their calling. Progress requires the courage to continue walking even while others question your direction. There is also wisdom in recognizing the difference between those who seek clarity and those who seek ammunition. A sincere person may ask difficult questions, but their questions are guided by respect. They are willing to listen, willing to reconsider, and willing to acknowledge evidence. Such conversations deserve your honesty because they create understanding. But those who collect your words only to weaponize them deserve something entirely different. They deserve the silence that denies them the conflict they hope to create. Silence in these moments is not an admission of defeat. It is the refusal to place your peace into the hands of someone determined to misuse it. It is the confidence to understand that your worth cannot be measured by another person's opinion. It is the wisdom to recognize that not every audience deserves access to your explanation. Some people have earned your openness through trust and mutual respect. Others have only demonstrated a commitment to misunderstanding, and no amount of careful speech can transform a closed mind into an open heart. The greatest protection for your dignity is knowing when your words are seeds that can grow and when they are simply being scattered onto ground that has already rejected them. Every human being is born with the same 24 hours in a day. Yet the difference between an extraordinary life and an ordinary one is rarely determined by talent alone. It is determined by attention. Attention is the invisible force that shapes your future because whatever consistently occupies your mind eventually influences your decisions, your habits, and your destiny. People often believe money is their greatest resource because it can purchase comfort, opportunity, and security. But money lost can be earned again. Time wasted can never be reclaimed. Attention scattered across endless distractions quietly steals both time and purpose without asking for permission. Most people never realize how valuable their attention truly is. They hand it away freely to strangers on the internet, to people who thrive on conflict, to unnecessary arguments, to endless comparisons, and to voices that contribute nothing to their growth. Every notification, every insult, every rumor, and every meaningless debate competes for the same limited space inside the mind. The tragedy is not that distractions exist. The tragedy is that so many people welcome them without questioning the price they are paying. Imagine carrying a bag filled with precious gold coins. Every time someone demands your attention, you reach into that bag and hand them a coin. Some people deserve it because they enrich your life, inspire your growth, or need your genuine support. something. But many others contribute nothing except confusion, negativity, and emotional exhaustion. Yet people continue giving away their attention as though it has no value. By the end of the day, they wonder why they feel empty, unmotivated, and mentally drained. They have unknowingly spent their greatest wealth on things that offered no meaningful return. The modern world has become an expert at capturing attention. Every platform, every advertisement, every headline, and every controversy is designed to compete for your focus. Entire industries profit from keeping your eyes fixed on constant stimulation. The longer your attention remains occupied, the greater their reward becomes. Very few voices encourage silence, reflection, or deliberate thought, because those qualities cannot easily be monetized. As a result, countless people wake each morning with minds already crowded by information that has little connection to their purpose. The danger of divided attention is that it slowly weakens the ability to think deeply. When the mind constantly jumps from one distraction to another, it loses the patience required for wisdom. Great ideas require uninterrupted focus. Strong relationships require intentional presence. Meaningful work requires sustained concentration. Yet many people interrupt themselves every few minutes, allowing outside influences to dictate the direction of their thoughts. They believe they are multitasking when in reality, they are training themselves to live in perpetual distraction. Attention is more than what you see. It is what you repeatedly feed your spirit. Every conversation you entertain, every piece of information you absorb, every emotion you revisit becomes part of the environment shaping your character. If your attention constantly rests upon anger, you become more easily angered. If it remains fixed on fear, courage slowly fades. If it dwells on jealousy, gratitude becomes difficult to find. The mind reflects whatever it repeatedly observes. This is why guarding your attention is not simply about productivity. It is about protecting the condition of your inner life. Many people spend years chasing success while allowing their attention to remain trapped in places where success cannot grow. They dream about building meaningful futures, yet they devote endless hours to proving strangers wrong. They desire peace while constantly revisiting old wounds. They long for confidence while measuring themselves against everyone around them. Their goals remain distant because their attention continues feeding the very habits that keep them where they are. Every great achievement demands sacrifice, and one of the greatest sacrifices is the willingness to ignore what does not deserve your focus. There will always be people eager to distract you from your purpose. Some do it intentionally because your progress reminds them of their own inaction. Others do it without realizing it because they have become accustomed to living without direction themselves. They invite you into unnecessary drama, endless complaints, pointless gossip, and emotional conflict. If you accept every invitation, your life gradually becomes filled with responsibilities that were never yours to carry. The path toward purpose becomes crowded with distractions disguised as obligations. Those who accomplish extraordinary things understand a principle that many overlook. They treat attention as something sacred. They do not respond to every criticism. They do not involve themselves in every argument. They do not chase every opportunity simply because it appears attractive. They understand that saying yes to one thing often means saying no to something greater. Their discipline is not found only in what they pursue, but also in what they refuse to entertain. Their strength comes from knowing that focus creates momentum, while distraction creates delay. The mind functions much like a garden. Whatever receives consistent care begins to grow. If weeds are ignored, they eventually overtake the flowers. Negative thoughts, unnecessary conflicts, and meaningless distractions operate in much the same way. They begin as small interruptions, but gradually spread until they occupy more space than the things that truly matter. Protecting your attention means removing what steals life from your purpose before it becomes deeply rooted. Every unnecessary argument demands emotional energy. Every rumor invites curiosity. Every insult tempts pride. Every distraction whispers that it deserves just a few moments of your focus. Yet those moments accumulate into hours, days, and years. Looking back, many people realize they did not lose their dreams through one catastrophic mistake. something. They lost them through thousands of small distractions that quietly consumed the attention required to build something meaningful. Your attention determines what becomes important in your life. If you consistently direct it toward growth, wisdom begins to expand. If you direct it toward learning, knowledge increases. If you direct it toward meaningful relationships, trust deepens. If you direct it toward discipline, strength develops. But if your attention becomes enslaved by conflict, criticism, and constant noise, those things gradually become the architects of your inner world. Every moment you choose where your attention will rest, you are also choosing the direction your future will begin to move, because the life you eventually build is almost always shaped by the thoughts, habits, and priorities that received your greatest focus long before anyone else could see the results. The world often mistakes loudness for confidence. It celebrates those who constantly announce their victories, defend every criticism, and seek validation through endless displays of certainty. Many people have been taught that strength means proving themselves at every opportunity. They believe they must answer every accusation, silence every critic, and convince everyone of their worth. Yet genuine confidence has never depended on constant explanation. It exists quietly beneath the surface, rooted in something far deeper than public approval. It does not rush to defend itself because it understands that truth does not become stronger through endless arguments. There is a remarkable difference between confidence and insecurity, though they can appear similar from a distance. Insecurity constantly seeks reassurance. It watches every reaction, measures every opinion, and fears every misunderstanding. It feels threatened by criticism because its foundation depends upon acceptance from others. Confidence operates differently. It is built through experience, discipline, and self-knowledge. It knows who it is before anyone else speaks. Because of this, it remains steady even when surrounded by doubt. It has no urgent need to convince those who have already chosen disbelief. Silence often confuses people because they expect immediate resistance. When someone attacks your character, they anticipate anger. When someone questions your decisions, they expect lengthy explanations. When someone attempts to provoke you, they prepare for conflict. Their expectations are built upon ordinary behavior because most people react without thinking. When calm silence replaces emotional reaction, it disrupts the entire pattern. Suddenly, the person seeking conflict finds themselves standing alone with nothing to fight against. The silence becomes more powerful than any carefully crafted argument because it refuses to participate in a battle that never deserved attention. Many people fear silence because they believe it makes them appear weak. They assume others will interpret their quietness as surrender or guilt. This fear pushes them into defending themselves long after they should have walked away. They answer accusations repeatedly, hoping that one more explanation will finally satisfy those questioning them. Instead, every explanation creates another demand. Every defense becomes another opportunity for criticism. They become trapped in an endless cycle where the need to prove themselves gradually replaces the peace they were trying to protect. True confidence understands that not every audience deserves an explanation. There are conversations worth having because they are guided by honesty and mutual respect. There are also conversations that exist only to create confusion, fuel pride, or satisfy curiosity without compassion. Learning the difference requires wisdom. It demands that you evaluate not only the words being spoken, but also the heart behind them. A sincere person asks questions because they seek understanding. A manipulative person asks questions because they seek control. Confidence recognizes this distinction and refuses to waste emotional energy where no genuine understanding is possible. History has always remembered individuals whose quiet strength outlasted louder voices. Many influential leaders, thinkers, and builders faced criticism throughout their lives. They were misunderstood, doubted, and opposed. If they had abandoned their purpose to answer every insult, their greatest contributions would never have existed. Their strength was not found in constant defense, but in unwavering commitment to their mission. They understood that every hour spent arguing with critics was an hour stolen from meaningful work. Silence also reflects trust in the passage of time. Time has a unique ability to reveal what words cannot. False accusations eventually collide with reality. Empty promises lose their influence. Consistent character becomes impossible to ignore. People who remain faithful to integrity allow time to become their witness. They understand that actions repeated over months and years possess far greater authority than explanations spoken in moments of emotional pressure. This kind of confidence cannot be borrowed from motivational words or temporary success. It is developed through private victories that no one else sees. It grows every time you choose discipline over impulse, every time you remain calm when anger seems easier, every time you refuse to betray your principles for temporary approval. Every quiet decision strengthens your inner foundation until your identity no longer depends upon external recognition. You become less concerned with being admired and more committed to becoming honorable. The strongest tree in the forest does not announce the depth of its roots. Its stability becomes visible only when storms arrive. In the same way, genuine confidence reveals itself during moments of pressure. Anyone can appear calm when life is comfortable. Anyone can appear wise when surrounded by agreement, but when criticism increases, misunderstanding spread, and opposition becomes louder, the true condition of a person's character begins to appear. Those rooted in confidence remain composed because they have already settled the question of their worth within themselves. There is a temptation to mistake activity for effectiveness. People believe that responding immediately demonstrates strength. They feel compelled to issue statements, defend intentions, and correct every false assumption. Yet many situations improve precisely because nothing was said. Emotions cool. Misunderstandings lose momentum. People reveal their true motives without interference. Silence often creates space for truth to emerge naturally. Constant reaction frequently interrupts that process by replacing clarity with emotional noise. Confidence is also closely connected to patience. An impatient person seeks immediate validation because waiting feels uncomfortable. A confident person understands that meaningful things develop over time. Trust takes time. Respect takes time. Reputation takes time. There is no shortcut through endless explanation. Those who attempt to accelerate respect by demanding recognition usually achieve the opposite. Respect cannot be forced. It is quietly earned through consistency, humility, and unwavering character. Many people exhaust themselves trying to control how they are perceived. They analyze every conversation, worry about every opinion, and replay every misunderstanding in their minds. Their peace becomes dependent upon circumstances they cannot control. Confidence breaks this cycle by accepting a simple truth. You cannot manage every thought another person has about you. No amount of explanation guarantees understanding. No amount of defense guarantees fairness. Once this reality is accepted, an extraordinary freedom begins to emerge. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is often the highest expression of self-control. It demonstrates mastery over emotions that demand immediate release. It reflects wisdom that understands not every battle deserves participation. It reveals a heart secure enough to let actions speak louder than opinions and patient enough to trust. That truth has no need to shout when it possesses the endurance to remain standing long after noise has faded away.